The Hollow Ones, dated November 3, 1936. The village of Serlowe sits deep in the mountains, a place forgotten by time and progress. I had been sent here to investigate what the locals called the wasting. They thought it was some new sickness, a peculiar kind of madness that made people lose their will to live. But I am a doctor. I believed there would be a scientific explanation. I was wrong. I arrived to find the village wrapped in a haze of deathly quiet. The people moved slowly, the face pale and gaunt, but what struck me most was their eyes, empty, vacant, as if they had seen things no mortal mind could bear. There was a weight in the air, a kind of pressure I could not name, but it was there, lurking just out of sight. The first patient I examined was a woman, Marna. She sat in her bed, staring blankly at the wall, her skin paper thin, her hair falling out in clumps. Her family told me that she had once been lively, full of laughter, but all that was left now was this hollow shell. When I spoke to her, there was no recognition, no flicker of life in her dull eyes. I checked her pulse, her reflexes, even her pupils. Physically, she was alive, but it was as though her soul had slipped away. Over the next few days, I visited other patients. It was the same in every case. They weren't dying in the traditional sense, no fever, no wounds, no signs of disease. But they were fading, losing more of themselves with each passing day. I would ask them questions, but the voices, when they spoke at all, were monotones, drained of emotion, their words slurred as though they were forgetting how to speak. Then the dreams started. At first, they were vague shadows flickering at the edge of my vision, and whispers I could not understand. But as the nights passed, they became clearer. I saw dark figures standing in the corners of my room, tall and thin, their bodies warped and unnatural, their faces twisted into grotesque imitations of human features. They never moved, never spoke, but they watched. I awoke drenched in cold sweat, my heart pounding in my chest. I knew then that this was no ordinary sickness. I asked the villagers if they had experienced similar dreams, and some nodded, their vacant eyes flickering with a faint, almost imperceptible fear. They whispered of the hollow ones, old creatures from ancient folklore forgotten by most. They were said to wander the mountains at night, drawn to the minds of men, feeding not on flesh but on thought, on the very essence of being. At first I scoffed at the idea, an old superstition clinging to life in a remote village. But then I saw one for myself. It was late, long after midnight. I had been pacing the small room in which I stayed, trying to shake off the oppressive feeling that had settled on me since the dreams began. As I turned toward the window, I saw it, tall and thin, standing on the hill just beyond the village. Its body was black, not shadowed, but truly black, as if it absorbed the very light around it. Its face, if you could call it a face, was wrong, distorted. Its eyes were hollow pits, endless and empty, yet they seemed to pull at my mind, beckoning me closer. For a moment I could not move. My body was frozen in place, my thoughts slowing, my lips heavy. I could feel it. That thing reaching for me, not physically, but with something worse. I could feel it trying to tear away my thoughts, my memories, everything that made me me. I don't know how long I stood there, but eventually the thing vanished, dissolving into the night as if it had never been there at all. I collapsed, gasping for air, my mind reeling. The next morning I packed my belongings and prepared to leave, but something stopped me. A sense of duty, or maybe curiosity. I needed to know what had caused all of this, what these hollow ones truly were. That night I returned to the hill where I had seen the creature. The villagers had warned me not to go. They said the mountain was cursed, that it had always drawn these things to it. But I could not help myself. I needed answers. I climbed the hill as the moon hung low, casting its sickly light over the land. At the summit I found that I had feared, a ruin, ancient and forgotten, half buried in the earth. It was older than the village, older than any known history, built from black stone that seemed to hum with an energy I could not explain. There, the heart of the ruin, I saw them, the hollow ones, dozens of them, gathered around a single, massive stone monolith. They did not move, did not speak. They simply stood like sentinels, their empty eyes turned toward the village below. As I watched, one of them turned toward me, its hollow gaze locking onto mine. In that moment, I understood. These things weren't just creatures, they were the embodiment of the void itself, drawn to places where reality was thin, where the mind could be undone. They fed on thought, on identity, on everything that made us human. And once they had drained us, they left behind only hollow shells. I don't remember how I made it back to the village. The memories are a blur, but now, as I sit here writing this, I can feel it. The hollowing. The dreams have returned, stronger than before. The whispers louder. My thoughts are slipping away, piece by piece. Soon I'll be like the others, wandering these empty streets with nothing left but a cell. I don't know how much time I have left, but I hope when I'm gone, someone will find this journal. Maybe they'll understand what happened here, and maybe they'll stay far, far away from this cursed place.